We're going.
Good morning and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for episode number 37 of Business Unusual. I'm so excited. I am Breandan Filbert, Managing Partner with SalesWorks. And I have to tell you, my favorite thing when I get out of bed every morning is helping somebody land in front of their next opportunity via a phenomenal introduction. So that can be either through creating a new prospect, or it can be through helping you secure your next consulting engagement, 1099 gig, whatever that looks like. We're here to help you create revenue right now. And that's what we're all about with Business Unusual. Chris?
Hey, everybody. I'm Chris Motley, Motley Creations. I'm the big fish there. And what we do is we make you look good. And what does that mean exactly? Well, we don't cut hair. We don't get clothes for you. What we do is managed marketing services. So we help small, medium-sized businesses with big goals, and sometimes, multinational corporations. The marketing department's there. So it's what we do is help find right-sized solutions to execute on your marketing strategy and develop the brand and image that you need to have.
And what we are doing with our Business Unusual series is we are all about helping professionals and businesses and individuals, whoever you are, if you are in the midst of trying to figure out what your pivot needs to be based on the pandemic. Before we kicked off our conversation this morning, we were talking to one of our attendees that's chatting about how we're just in a completely different world. And what used to work isn't working as well. And now everybody's moved into virtual meetings instead of connecting for coffee meetings. So and then with that, some of these virtual meetings tend to not stick on people's calendar, or prospects are stalling out. There's just a lot that's changing right now. So Chris and I put together this series specifically to help you and connect with you and provide value. Now, with that, we're going to give you a ton of information. Now, there's a lot of benefits to being on the call live. One of those is that we want to shape as much of the presentation to our audience as we possibly can. So our topic today is making the most of your referral partnerships to wrap up, close the year strong for 2020, because I'm telling you, I need a bright spot. So the more I can leverage some amazing relationships and help other people have good things happen in their business and enable them to help me with having great things happen in mine too, so much the better. So that's what we're all about today. So my question that I have that I'd like for you to chat to me is, well, do we want to use chat or do we want to use the questions pane?
Questions.
Okay, so use the questions tab, and then my question that I have for you is, how many of you have existing partnerships and you logged in for kind of just some ideas about how to make those partnerships stronger and more productive, versus how many of you are building new partnerships, as in you are just getting started, either in a new role, new career, or a new approach. Maybe you've been doing tons of cold calling and smiling and dialing, and you've recognized that that's not so much fun, and it's certainly not as productive as referrals. So that's why you're here. So go ahead, let me know where you're coming from, because that will shape a lot of how we deliver the presentation.
We have some that are have existing partnerships, but want to create new ones. A lot of new approach kind of things. And one thing I want to add to all this that Breandan just said is, this whole referral partner thing. Look at the webcams. These are referral partners. We're not. The thing is that we don't just make stuff up and just to fill time and space. We're telling you what we're doing that works. So,
and not to mention,
existing partnerships, looking for more. We got a bunch. They're all across the board. So.
Okay, well then we're going to talk all across the board. We're going to talk about whether or not this is brand new and you're evaluating what referral partnerships can do for your business with getting you ramped up and productive and profitable as quickly as possible. And then we're also going to talk about this from the, how do you accelerate perhaps what you've already got started that you need to get just a little bit more of, or Maybe you want to pour a little gas on your fire and, take it to the next level with your referral relationships. So that's what we're going to dig into this morning as we get started. So first thing that I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and kill my webcam just so that I end up not having those moments where technology says, I don't want to give you that much bandwidth. And then you end up freezing with your face in some kind of weird position. Because of course I would have the weird position. Now, the first place that I want to start with is overall, what can referral partnerships do in your business? And what I've done, I am all things referral. And I think that referral strategies are some of the most powerful elements that you can bring into your marketing effort. And what I want to talk about just as we get started is the frame of reference that referral partnerships fit, and then specifically, what are we going to talk about with those today? So the first thing, if you think about if you are going to incorporate referral strategies in your business, you have the opportunity to create client referral rewards programs. We actually did a session on that earlier. So if you have not yet subscribed to Business Unusual on our YouTube channel, you definitely want to make it over, because that was a really great session. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, I think we hit it out of the park with the information that was shared during that, based on what we've seen our clients come up with. And understand, Chris and I, we're not presenting this as we are the gurus with the answer to all things related to sales and marketing. But what we are is we're smart people who pay attention. And one of Chris's favorite quotes that he uses a lot, and I'm borrowing it from him, is success leaves clues. So we want to share with you those clues that we're seeing that are telling you very clearly what you can do right now that will get you to your next client. So we've got client referral rewards program. You've got strategic account management. Now, what we're talking about there is, let's pretend you're working with XYZ Fortune 100. You have the opportunity to gain introductions across that Fortune 100, in a lot of cases to different departments or divisions or business units. And referrals are an incredibly effective way to leverage those larger relationships. So, and that fits under the topic of strategic account management. We have referral partnerships that what we're talking about there is where you team up, like Chris and I are collaborating, where we have formed a joint offering together through this webinar that we can each promote to our respective relationship base and bring them to the table to help other people recognize the strengths and talents of your partner, and also recognize, hey, this is somebody new I need to follow. So that's an example of referral partnerships in action. Social media is an incredibly powerful platform for driving referrals, because more than 90% of buyers are going to hit the YouTubes or the Googles, or they're going to be doing their search online, but they're also going to reach out via whatever social platform they're the most engaged with. And while right now you may see kids fleeing some of the traditional, like Facebook, it's the one that is growing the most in people who are, I think it's over the age of 60. And LinkedIn, we know, is an incredibly powerful platform just to leverage that top of mind. And then that leads us into the other referral strategy that is so important to have, is a content strategy and promoting your thought leadership. Because not only does that allow your current audience to stay top of mind with you and remember, oh, hey, this is something that you're really good at. Half the people who are joining live on our call have been clients of mine or are currently clients of mine. And you know this stuff, and we talk about this stuff, but you're jumping back in because it's encouragement and it's motivation. And what that does also is, now for the next hour at least, I'm top of mind with you. And if I provide great value for you during our conversation this morning, you're probably going to share my information with others. And so doing this webinar and creating content creates referrals every single week and introductions to amazing new people, some of which we have on our call today. And I'm delighted to have you with us and to, again, create value during our conversation. So what I would encourage you to do is—
let me interject here really quick here, is that it's not a one size fits all thing. And I love what Breandan has done here and put several different avenues into this, and several different strategies. And again, I want to say that we use 99% of these strategies between us, and you know, different companies and different client bases that you use may not be using the social media that you use, right? So it may be better to have referral partnerships or strategic account managements. And again, I can't stress that more. It was what, Breandan, 2005 or something when we met, and I learned some of this stuff from you, and it changed how I did business. I started working smarter, more smart, less hard. So this is the really good stuff, and now is the time to start setting this stuff up to really be effective in 2021.
Well, and let me tell you, there's so much of what we're going to be talking about today. And when we view referral partnerships, what I want you to think about is it's not about you picking up and looking at this checklist and saying, I'm going to do everything. It's picking one thing that you can incorporate to be just a little bit better. So with that, we are going to dive into your referral partnerships that you currently have, or what are the gaps that you need to fill right now in your service offering so that you are you're at the very least, we want to make sure that our referral partnerships are adding value to what we currently do, to make sure that you deliver everything to be extraordinary with your current clients. So that's kind of the first context that we want to be looking at with this. So when we talk about current partnerships, that's where we're starting, is you have existing partners, and I want to make sure that you are accomplishing these key steps. So if you pay attention to nothing else in our presentation today other than this slide, then by all means, don't multitask, don't check email, do not pass go, listen to this slide, because it is the most important element in getting the most out of your referral partnerships and also in building your new relationships. So what is critical is an understanding in your target audience. So I got a question for you. Have any of you ever been referred to prospects that were unprofitable? They were a pain in the tuchus to deal with. Anybody here ever been introduced to those people? You can go ahead and chat that in. I want to hear the answer to that. Have you had introductions that you took the call and you were sitting here saying, ugh, how on earth, I am never going to get that 10 minutes of my life back?
Right.
Yeah. You had that happen?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So
well,
just real quick here, a pro tip that I learned from Breandan is, if you're trying to decide who is a good partner for you, and you go meet with them, and you meet with them for, or maybe a Zoom call for 15 minutes, and you ask them about their, target audience, and they never ask you about yours, probably not a good referral partner. So.
Okay, did you all get what he just said? Because he just gave you like the biggest secret to establishing and figuring out in one meeting and in one conversation if somebody's going to be a one-way street or a two-way street. So that was great. Now, if you have ever been referred to somebody you did not want to talk to, or that was unprofitable, unproductive, didn't get what you do, that is okay. And I'm going to say this with all the love in my heart that I possibly can. It's your fault. okay? Because you did not share with your potential referral partner or help them recognize who it is that you best serve. And let me tell you, more is not better when it comes to referrals. And there's a lot of people that may argue and say, I always thought it was great. I don't want to meet anybody. Well, we really don't, because we only have so many hours in our day. And the more you discover that narrow slice of your client base that you can just knock it out of the park and deliver amazing value and love working with them, and they adore the experience of working with you, that's your target audience, and you need more of those. So what is critical in having conversations right now with your referral partners is making sure that you are both aligned with who is a great customer for you today. Because your best customer of today may not be the best customer of yesterday, and it potentially may not be your best customer of tomorrow. This is one of those things that we always have to be paying attention to, that target audience. And in a lot of cases, we have an initial referral partner meeting when we meet somebody way back when. So like Mercedes and I connected, oh my gosh, it's been years ago. If I assume that his target audience today is the same as it was back when he was working with the bank, do you think I'm going to be really on target with where he's at now since he's moved and he's working with a different firm? I'm probably not going to be very on target with that. So it's really important that we understand who that target audience is. The next point that is so important. All right, so here's another question for you. How many of you get introduced to somebody that the timing's just not quite right yet? In other words, they're a great person to know, but you're not going to be able to do business with them for, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever. Anybody here have that happen? Of it's the right person, but timing's not right. Because remember, we want to get introduced at the right place, to the right person, at the right time.
Right.
And the right time is when they're experiencing something right now that you can help. This results in a sales cycle that's measured in minutes and not months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's your secret on getting introduced when you need to meet them. It's if you relate so many of your messaging, your points, instead of talking about, I do payroll, instead, how about if we mention and say, I work with companies that are struggling to be compliant with how they're paying people now. Or I work with people who can't figure out how to record the PPP loans that have been out there and are potentially, we're probably going to end up with another round of PPP that comes through. So
you caught that right. Let's slow down here. You caught that right. That was a trigger event for an introduction, right? That's key.
So instead of asking for people to talk to them about payroll, which I'm sorry, it's just not a very exciting topic. It's kind of like talking about, I got some accountants on our call. It's one of those things that we desperately need, but it's not always the sexiest topic. It's not bright and shiny. But it is something that is critically important to businesses. And if you have a solution that is better than what they're currently doing, then you want to get in front of them when they're ready to move. And if you relate the trigger events to your referral partners that create the best opportunity for you right now, you're going to get better quality introductions. So there's your second big key.
Huge.
Third big key, okay, in having these amazing referral partnerships is their capability of making introductions for you.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, like we'll use Chris as an example. I can introduce Chris all day long to people that are trying to be better about their marketing and branding. And he can fill up his calendar with people that I can connect him with.
Right.
But isn't it better if I introduce Chris to people that are saying, Now I'm at the point where I truly need to elevate my marketing so that the prospects that are just a little bit more corporate in feel actually recognize the fact that I can serve a company of size and a lot of complicated issues and challenges, which means I need to make sure that I'm professional when I show up in all ways. And that makes more sense than just saying he's really good at branding.
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
And then from my point of view, think of it as like a real estate agent, right? Everybody that does insurance and painting and gutters and things like that wants to get to know a real estate agent because there's that trigger event, right? They buy a new house or they're selling a house and they need all these different people. None of those people stand next to me. And what I learned from Breandan years ago was I look for the three-legged stool, right? So I can do the sales, or not sales, the marketing all day long, right? The advertising all day long. And sometimes I have to bring in a specialized marketing person, which I can refer easy. And sometimes I get people all set up and knowing who their target audience is, but then we have to have Breandan come in and teach them how to prospect, or even sales training, like how to close the deal, right? So you need to find people that stand right next to you, as well as have the personality of being able to make the introductions like we talked about earlier.
and we're going to be sharing, you're going to want to make sure that you stay tuned throughout this entire session, because we have several different slides that we're going to be diving into, that how to make an amazing introduction and how to get other people to make those introductions for you. So now we want to talk about, I'm going to shift gears just a little bit in talking about referral partnerships. And I want to give you insight into why I see referral partnerships fail. And this is a big one. And when you think about your current partnerships, oftentimes we miss the boat because we don't understand what gets our referral partners excited. I shared a big key to me in the very beginning of this presentation, where I told you that my favorite thing when I get up every morning is thinking about, who can I help today? I am intrinsically motivated by helping somebody make their life better. I'm all about the warm fuzzy. Sure, I like money. Sure, I like being successful in business. But at the end of the day, I do what I do, and Chris does what he does because of the lives that we change. And you'll notice one thing about our partnership is we have very similar motivations. And that's not saying that extrinsically motivated people are capitalists or greedy, or they don't care about the people. That's not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that when you understand how to motivate and engage your referrer, you are going to get so much farther with that relationship. So for instance, I have one of my clients that's a wealth manager that I've referred him a lot of people. He's referred me about 240 people since he took my class in 2005. And the reason he has referred me to 240 people is not just because I've referred him, but it's because every time he refers me, I give him feedback about how the conversation went. And out of those 240 people, about 25% of them have engaged me in some form or fashion. And then all of those people that have engaged me, my first thing when they come to me with a big win, they say, Breandan, I'm so excited. This is what I accomplished. I immediately turn them right back around and say, would you do me a favor? Would you reach out to Mike and share that with him? Because Mike is intrinsically motivated. Yes, he's a wealth manager. Yes, he's a very successful business owner. But Mike probably spends more of his time volunteering and donates to charities. And he is just one of the most giving people that you'd ever want to know. And what I've recognized is that him recognizing the impact and how somebody's life is better through knowing me means he's going to introduce me to even more people. A big mistake that a lot of people make with referral partnerships is they assume everybody is motivated for the same reasons they are. And if you're motivated extrinsically, maybe you've made the big mistake of giving a 30-second commercial and saying, you know what, I'm happy to share, and we do fee sharing with all of our referral partners. Or I'll give you $100 for everybody that you introduce me to. And there are people that are intrinsically motivated that's just like fingernails on a blackboard to, because I don't accept referral fees in a lot of cases with my referral partners. And if I do accept any type of a referral fee, I am very transparent about the fact that this is an affiliate relationship or a joint venture that I'm participating in. Everybody knows it, because I don't ever want there to be an impression with a prospect that says, well, did she just refer me because she got paid for it? And again, it just goes back to what is appropriate in my business. In some cases, you can go to jail if you share referral fees and pay for referrals. I have, my husband used to work for a Fortune 100 in traffic. And what he did is he would contract with freight brokers. And the guy that took his job, because my husband got promoted, ended up getting fired after 30 days because a freight broker sent him a box of steaks. And there's so many things that we have a tendency to run afoul of when it comes to motivating referral partners that we could do an entire session just on that. Oh, yeah. But I will share with you one of my favorite books that I like to read is Drive by Daniel Pink. And he talks about, the entire book is about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. And if you're a student of prospecting, that's one of the best books you can buy. And he's actually just done one recently that I haven't checked out yet that's on sales. But he really understands how to get to the heart of what motivates people. And that's something that's really important for you to do. Now, another key that I want to talk about before we really start diving into some of the nuts and bolts of how to do this is, are your referral partners clear on what the actions are that they can take to help you? And even more importantly, are you clear on what actions you need to take in order to help them? So I want you thinking about that, because all too often we make assumptions. And you know what they say about assumptions?
It makes an ass out of you, an umption.
Yes. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So, okay, now let's dive in to how we're going to get all of these things done. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to expand your thinking about what referral partnerships can do for you. So even if you've got existing partners in place, I want you to think about maybe a few keys or a few things that you're missing right now and how they can be helpful for you in your business. And if you are just getting started, I want you to grasp or start wrapping your arms around the power of what partnerships can do to grow your business. So the first thing that we want to really start looking at is, what are the opportunities that they provide you access to? And when you think about the access to opportunities, oftentimes what we think about is, well, they know a lot of people, so that's got to be good, right? Not always. Mm-mm. Are they having the same conversations you are? Where Chris talked about the three-legged stool, and the people that, if you don't have all three legs of that stool, you're not going to sit on that chair very stably. No. I mean, and think about what happens if there is a one-legged stool. That's not going to be pretty at all.
I think they call that a pogo stick, maybe? I don't know.
Uh-huh. Or they call that something that is going to end up with you in a heap on the floor.
Right.
So when you think about access to opportunities, what referral partners can do is they can provide more value to you with what you do. They can open the door to new prospects or potentially help you with serving markets that you may not have been able to go after before. So, for example, I have clients that, and I are in the employee benefit space, and I love financial service and insurance because they're such great examples of where you can identify someone. So let's say you like working with young professionals, but you also, and you've got a center of influence or contact base that's made up of young professionals, but you also need to work with people that have substantial assets. And that may not be the young professionals yet. So what you need to do is you need to find somebody that has a well-established practice serving those individuals that may be nearing retirement or at a point in their life where they've built up some pretty substantial assets. And what you then need to do is figure out what can you do for them that will help them as well. And then what happens is you gain immediate access to a market that you don't always have to have people that are already there. You know, I had this happen once with a business owner or with one of my financial advisors that wanted to work with women executives. And I said, well, how many women executives do you have? And he's like, I don't have any yet. Oh, but I think I want to work with them because I like working. It's funny. He told me, he said, I like working with women better than men.
Okay.
He said they follow direction better and I enjoy talking to them and I don't have to argue with them to get my point across.
Man.
That's exactly what he said. It was kind of funny.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, but I said, okay, so how do you think you're going to get there? Well, what he did is he partnered with a life coach that worked with women executives that were figuring out where they wanted to go next in their life and in their business. So that's what I want you thinking about is who are the people that can give you access to amazing opportunities? The other thing I want you thinking about is who is it that already makes a habit of referring? Okay, so I know I've got accountants on the call. I'm going to pick on accountants here for just a minute. I had an accountant once share with me. He said, Breandan, he said, I have a hard enough time calling people back that want to talk to me, much less reaching out to people that I'm reaching out to them unsolicited. He said, he said, the thought of that, he said, I would rather eat a live frog than make a call to somebody that doesn't want to talk to me. And it was funny because it was about the time that Eat That Frog was coming out, but he shared that with me. And it made a lot of stuff pretty clear about why referral partnerships oftentimes don't work out. And what you want to identify is the more you find people that make a habit of referring, the easier and the faster you're going to be on track with creating referral partnerships with them. Because that's just how they do business, as opposed to trying to work with somebody that just won't ever do it. And when you discover this, you're going to find out that your path to revenue is a lot faster and it's a lot easier.
Well, and one of the things, though, is remember that we talked about earlier was they have to be, if you in your initial conversation, right, they have to be reciprocal. They have to ask about you. And two, I found one another thing I learned from Breandan is that I was in a networking group, right, that had a bunch of people that were unrelated to me, and they referred based on numbers, right? So they'd get credit. In other words, they weren't good referrals. So, and they need to make a habit of referring, but they need to know how to refer and what is, what we talked about earlier, the trigger events, and you need to get good referrals.
And target profile.
Right.
Yeah. And that's a really good point. And understand that the secret to this, I'm going to give you a secret that we share in the workshop that we deliver called Productive Prospecting. But the biggest key to this and discovering this is behavioral based interviewing.
Right.
And this you will discover during your interview process. And now, most importantly, are their clients actually in the habit of acting upon their advice?
What was it? Did I learn this from you? Is it somebody, I started asking people this when they would give me a referral. One of the first things I'd ask them is go, okay, so it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you're in jail. Can you call this person? Will they come and get you out? You know what I mean? To see, will they respond if I call them?
So, okay, so here's a funny note. So that financial advisor that I told you, it's introduced me to 240 people. He told me one day, he said, Breandan, I just want you to know that I have $150,000 in cash in my safe in my bedroom. So if you ever need to make bail, just remember that.
Nice.
Isn't that funny? Okay, so all right, but he brings up a super good point. And unfortunately, most of my friends would be in jail with me.
Right.
Whatever it was that was a stupid thing that would have gotten us in trouble and there was probably something involving alcohol or, hey, hold my beer and watch this.
Right.
So exactly. All right, so it's so important that you work with people that their clients actually follow their advice. It's so funny because I take it as a badge of honor when I have people that show up for a class and you ask them why they're there and their response is, well, Breandan told me I needed to be here and I do what she tells me to do. That just makes me feel so good. I'm like, all right, they're following my advice. But that's important. You have to make sure that you are collaborating with people that don't just throw names and recommendations out there that nobody ever acts on.
Right.
And that's really important. And this is one of the most important keys when you start thinking about referral partnerships. Do they need you? And if I could bold and underline the need word in here, I would do that because it is so important that you align with people that are upstream from you. Okay? So this is super easy for a lot of people, like we've got financial advisors on our call today.
Mm-hmm.
And the challenge of being the financial advisor is you tend to be the upstream relationship for most partnerships, which means you are approaching the accountants, which we've already talked about how accountants are about referring, and the attorneys, which are even worse than accountants normally are. I mean, if you are going to pick the most introverted professions to refer, you've got engineers that are number one,
Yeah.
and then I think it's accountants and then attorneys. And, you know, all too often we're sitting here and we're thinking about our best partners are the people that we need. Well, who needs you? And you need to go upstream to the people that are actively hustling business and have the opportunity to refer you. And their service is better through working with you.
And that's that three-legged stool again, right? We're right back to it again. So.
Okay, so hopefully everybody's paying attention now. All right, so before we dive into the next section of, we got one more to cover. The biggest thing is, can they help you reach new prospects?
Mm-hmm.
Now, on this call, and this was funny because Lisa, you made the point during this conversation of I recognize a lot of the names that are on this call. We live in a community here in Kansas City that is so intertwined. It's a case of we've got, you know, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon we laugh about on LinkedIn, that you are 6 people away from anywhere in the world. In Kansas City, they've actually done studies that show you are 2 connections away from anyone you would want to get to. And
in Kansas City, I think they play the 6 degrees of Breandan Filbert. I'm pretty sure.
or the 2 degrees of Chris Motley.
Maybe.
So, but the thing is we fall into this comfort zone of, well, I know them and we all know the same people, so I'm going to go hang out with them. And then what happens is great for circling the wagons, but it's not as great on helping you expand your influence to new contacts. And that is so important. So I really want you thinking about your referral partnerships and can they really help you reach those new prospects? Okay, before we dive into the what else can referral partners do for you, I would like for you to chat to me in the questions pane. What are the biggest ahas that you've had up to this point? Because I want to make sure you're still with me. So what have you changed in terms of your awareness? What's been your lesson learned so far? Here's the biggest challenge when you sit in or you're listening to a recording like this is we tend to just listen to it and the information comes in one ear and goes out the other. And we don't take action.
Right.
So for this to be a mini workshop for you, what I need you to do is take a minute and chat in. If you're listening to the recording, pause the recording. Think about what question you are going to add to your current interview process, call you're going to make, or contact you're going to initiate that you can do based on what we've talked about to this point.
Right. Just one thing, just at least one thing. Maybe it's how you vet your referral partners, right? So go ahead and chat it in. Continue focusing. Yeah, upstream. That's a great one, Bruce. Great one. Target market's a great one.
Fantastic. All right. So while those are coming in, the other thing that I want you to think about now is what questions do you have so that we can start organizing questions, because Chris and I, we started a little bit late. I'm going to do my best to get us wrapped up on time, but I will take time and we will hang out afterwards to answer any questions that you have. So my next thing that I've got is at 12 o'clock. So we've got a few minutes that we can go over. Okay. So make sure that you chat us your questions though, as they come to you. And if you are following this on YouTube, then what I want you to do is send us a comment with what your question is and let us answer in the comments too. Okay. So what else can referral partners do for you? What I want you to think about now is shift gears just a little bit and think about how you currently win business. And all too often what happens is someone will give us a name and they'll give us a number, and we're just going to be like a dog on a pork chop, and we're going to go grab this and we're going to scarf it down as quickly as we can. Well, the challenge when you do that is you run with what we call a lead. And when you run with a lead versus gaining an introduction, you still have to do all the heavy lifting of building credibility and trust and authority with that prospect. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is lean on your referral partners to help you with shortening that sales cycle. So by making introductions, your referral partners can shorten what would be a months-long sales process into a lunch meeting. I've had this happen where one of my absolute biggest clients was landed over a lunch meeting at Grunauer, which is a German restaurant that's located in Freight House. And it's funny because I had been invited to that lunch by one of my clients who said, I've got somebody I want you to meet. And I said, is there anything I need to do to prepare for this? And he said, nope, just show up. So I just showed up and I got introduced to his boss that had been watching what my client was doing with his prospecting effort. And he said, I want to bring you in to do this for my entire firm. So it went from being I just thought it was a networking connection to being a six-figure contract. And oh, by the way, I had a contract signed for an 18-month engagement within the week with my first check within 10 days. So that is what referrals can do for you. And if we let our referral partners help us and we help them, then you are going to do a lot to have great impact on your sales process. The other thing is they can add value to your service offering. And when you think about adding value, these are two words that I think people minimize the importance of it. And adding value, this is where I want you really listening to this. okay? Because this part is really important. If you're multitasking, come back to me. When you think about your services, we have to be open and understand what our gaps are and where we could potentially lose a client. And then that is where you first identify referral partnerships. So let me go back to insurance for just a minute. Or actually, you know what? I'm going to do financial advising for a minute, because I have several people on the call that are financial planners. And I know that if you are a fee-based planner, that there is there's a level of exclusivity that you have attained through taking that CFP exam and through all of that continuing education and being able to charge a fee based on your knowledge and your expertise and your guidance in that plan. So that is a level in your career. And there's a whole lot of professionals that I talk to who say, I don't work on commission at all. And they say, we don't sell commission products. Okay, well, here's what that exposes you to. So let's say you have one of your best clients that is talking to a business owner that they hold in very high regard, who is talking about some of the different investment vehicles and key man insurance plans that allow them to compensate and retain employees in a very affordable and cost-effective manner. Okay, well, now all of a sudden their ears are up and they're interested because you've never talked to them about this. And they're going to then, even though it could be something that you could offer, if for whatever reason, now it's a trigger event, something's happening in their life, they're open, they're receptive to it, they're interested, and now a competitor has the opportunity to get in the door with something that they think you can't do. So what we want to do is, by bringing in someone that is insurance only, you can add value to your service offering and not introduce a competitor to what you do. And it's ideal when you do find professionals that only offer that very specific instrument that's going to make an impact. So that's what I want you thinking about, is adding value to your service offering through your referral partnerships, because this is where you can plug any leaks that you might have with retention. Now, if you have, let me do a quick show of, raise your hand. You've got a little thing you can plug in here if you want to raise your hand. Raise your hand and let me know how many of you have a solution that is based on being in the right place at the right time. So in other words, there's a renewal date or something attached to your services. So raise your hand if you've got that going on in your business currently. Okay, I've got several on the call that it is dependent upon, or if there is a life event. So I know our financial advisors, it's money in motion. Is there something that is a moment in time that opens the door for you to act quickly, but that moment in time is not every day? Okay, so here's what referral partnerships can do for you. Remember that there is a psychological trigger that you trip when you follow advice, when you click a link, when you open a document, when you follow direction. That is when someone has bought from you. Maybe their purchase is their attention or following your advice or guidance. That transaction is even more substantial or significant in their lives when there's money attached to it. So even if somebody buys a $5 white paper from you, they've still made a transaction. Now, if you don't have products per se to sell, you can leverage a referral partner and get a referral partner to revenue, and then you get to piggyback on that trigger event happening, and you build influence, and now you have just transcended to a new level of advisor. with that prospect. Are you following me?
Heck yeah.
So in a lot of cases, if you have an event that is a right time, right place, you want to get one of your partners to revenue as quickly as possible, and then let that partner manage your pipeline. And that partner will then bring you in when the timing is right to be able to act on the advice. Okay? So this is a pipeline management tool that you can have. And now all of a sudden, it makes sense for you to say, I work with manufacturers that are getting ready to expand their team, if you're in payroll, because maybe the timing's not right yet for them to have you work with them on their payroll, but by introducing them to a resource that may be able to help them with recruiting and gaining talent because they can't get workers, then what happens is that recruiter is going to go to work and they're going to build influence and credibility day by day. And you get to piggyback on that. And by the way, that recruiter is probably going to be hearing when any of their contractors aren't happy with how they're getting paid, or they see some anomalies or errors are being made. And then that recruiter is then able to come back and leverage influence and say, hey, look, it's hard enough to hire people today, much less having them mad about issues or challenges that are happening with their paychecks. So let me introduce you to somebody that can fix that for you. That's the power that referral partnerships can do. So the key that you want to have is you've got to get to revenue with a prospect as quickly as possible. And if you can't do that with one of your solutions, we want to get a referral partner in there. All right, so are y'all with me on this? We have covered a lot of ground, and I've given you a lot of information to think about. What I want to do is I'm going to go through the next couple of slides, but I want you to know that I'm hanging out because we will answer questions. Because hopefully I've given you something to think about as it relates to your referral partnerships, what you're currently doing, and how you're prospecting. But one of my amazing referral partners is the Women's Business Center, 1KC for Women. They're one of our amazing relationships that promotes what we do for small businesses and individuals that are pivoting in their career or in their business right now. And I want to share with you some information about upcoming events. Go check out the link here, because no matter where you are at in your business right now, you've probably had your world rocked in some way, shape, or form or fashion, and it may not be pleasant. But they have been a resource for so many great questions, everything from PPP funding to HR issues to whatever. So go check out the links that are there. And then I also want to share with you, if you have started to gain some insight into what referral partnerships can do, and if you really want to dive in and take this to the next level in your business, we have a very special offer that I'd love for you to join in our productive prospecting workshop that's going to be kicking off in December. And all the information is on the slide right here. Also, I'll be sending it out via a link. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is give you a link to a Facebook group. We've got our Facebook challenge group that you can hop in. And this week we have been focused every day on an element of referral prospecting. So there's a video starting on the mini training. Day 1 was focusing on your target audience. Day 2 is trigger events. Day 3 is the introductions and what they can do in order to help you. And day 4 are the systems to support your prospecting. So if you really want to take this to the next level, I'm here for you. There's the mini training is free, and then we also have something extra special if you jump into our productive prospecting class. And then also something that we're doing if you take advantage of this offer by Monday, okay? So I'm leveraging a scarcity trigger here. Chris and I are going to be doing a workshop that kicks off in December, and it is on social selling. So if you want to have insight into all of the things related to social media right now that professionals are finding to be impactful in their prospecting effort, then that's your opportunity to sit in on it. It's a $199 value. And you get that if you register for Productive Prospecting by Monday. So make sure that you hop in on that. All right, now let's get to questions. What questions do you all have based on what we've covered? Because we've gone down a lot of roads here, and there may be a few potholes that you may have recognized in your own prospecting effort that you want to get the shovel and the asphalt out. So come on in, the water's fine, let's chat.
So, or I've unmuted everybody. So if you want to unmute yourself, maybe you can just jump in and talk.
Okay, Chris, do me a favor and shut off the recording.
Okay.
So that we're not sharing anything via YouTube.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us on YouTube.